Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first Sathsang of 2021 of School of Ancient Wisdom. This is the Spiral of Wisdom Satsang, and right at the outset, I'd like to wish each and every one of you a very, very happy New Year. Let's hope it's really a good, healthy, peaceful New Year for each and every one on the globe. Not only those of us here, but everybody. So a warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining us today. And our speaker for today is Mr. Venkatesh Deshpande, and he will be talking to us on the Self-Enquiry Film Show. So thank you so much, Mr. Venkatesh, for joining us today and sharing your wisdom with us. A very, very warm welcome to you.
Thank you.
As all of you know, that while this satsang is on, while the speaker is speaking, we'd like you to mute your audios. If you have any questions, kindly put them in the chat box, and I'm sure the speaker will answer them. If not, raise your hand and Mr. Aniket will, unmute you. You will be able to ask your questions. So right now, let's start the very first satsang of 2021 with the school prayer by Mr. Ram Menon. Ram Menon, the school prayer.
O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. We each who feels himself as one with thee, know he is also one with every other.
Thank you, Ram. We now have the interreligious prayers, and we will begin by Mrs. Malati Janaki Ram. Gayatri Mantra, please.
Om Bhur-Bhuvah-Svah Tat-Savitur-Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Om Bhur-Bhuvah-Svah Tat-Savitur-Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Om Bhur-Bhuvah-Svah Tat-Savitur-Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityo Ma Amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you. We now have the Zoroastrian prayer by Freni.
Yes, ma'am. Shri Pak Dadar Auramazdani Madad Hojoti. Ya Noor e Dastagir, Ya Dastagir e Noor, Karam Kar Karima, Rahem Karo Ya Parvardigar, Madad Karo Ya Nabi, Zartushtra Tari Patshai. Baname Yazad, Bakshayande, Bakshayesh Gare Meherban, Yatha Ahu Vairyo, Yatha Ratush, Ashachi Thacha, Vanghe Ush, Dazdao Maningo, Shaute Nanam, Angyos Mazdai, Shatrem Chai, Ahurai aim dare gopyo dadatavastarahem. Yatha ahu vairyo, yatha ratush, ashachithacha, banghe ush, dasdao mningo, shote nanam, angyusai, shatrem chai, ahurai, aim dare gopyo dadatavastarahem. Ashem vahu vahishtam basti usta asti usta ahmai yadeshai vahishtai Ashem Sarosh yazadni panaho joti. Thank you.
We now have the Islamic prayer by Dr. Sana.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
Thank you. We now have the Christian prayer by Ravi Gerard.
Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you, Ravi. We now have the Sikh prayer by Guru Advani.
ओंकार सतनाम करता पुरख निर्भव निर्वैर अकाल मूरत जोनी सैबं गुर प्रसाद जप आद सच जुगाद सच है भी सच नानक हो से भी सच सोचे सोच न हो वही जे सोचे लखवार चुप चुप न हो वही जे लाए रहा लिवतार बुखिया बुख न उतरी जे बन्ना पुरिया भार सहस्यारा पालख होई त इक न चले नाल किव सचियारा होइए किव कूरे टूटे पाल हुक्म रजाई चल रहा नानक लिखिया नाल वाहिगुरु जी दा खालसा वाहिगुरु जी दी फतेह बोले सो निहाल सत श्री अकाल.
And now with all these prayers, I'm sure there's abundant blessings for all the people seated here. Okay. And now we have our speaker, and I request Mr. Janaki Ram to kindly introduce our esteemed speaker.
Venkatesh Deshpande. His biodata appears to be in 3 overlapping groups: corporate experience and service, spiritual preparation, and spiritual application. Mr. Venkatesh Deshpande is an electronics and communication engineer, and he has also done executive MBA from IIM Bangalore. He has served prestigious companies like Wipro, ABB, Oracle, and E4E, in senior management position and global operations. He has also been involved actively in social projects with Rotary and Round Table. His spiritual preparation is he has taken Mantra Diksha from Swami Chidananda of Divine Life Society, Rishikesh. He has also completed a residential course at Yoga Vedanta Forest Academy, Rishikesh. I think Venkatesh Deshpande's spiritual inclinations were planted as a seed because his parents were blessed by marriage by Swami Sivananda. What a great blessings he got. And he has been meditating for 4 decades. He joined the Ramana Maharishi Center of Learning in 2010 and he is presently the treasurer of RMCL. As well as he is also chairman of Ramana Maharishi Center of Learning Research Center. He is a very active member or active participant or active faculty in spreading the teachings of Ramana Maharishi through various workshops and talks. We are very fortunate to have Venkatesh Deshpande because people say, or scriptures say, life itself is a film show, and we are going to hear from him film show of self-enquiry from a person who seems to have found the answer to Ramana Maharishi's major, quest of Nanyar or who am I? So I heartily, on behalf of all of the participants and School of Ancient Wisdom, now invite Mr. Venkatesh Deshpande. We are eagerly looking forward to listen to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Janaki Ram, and it's over to you, Mr. Deshpande.
दक्षिणामूर्तिसारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमां रमणाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये आङ्गिकं भुवनं यस्य वाचिकं सर्ववाङ्मयम् आहारचं कृताराधि तं नमः सात्विकं शिवम् ॐ गुरुब्रह्मा गुरुविष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। ध्यानमूलं गुरोर्मूर्तिः पूजामूलं गुरोर्पदम् मंत्रमूलं गुरुर्वाक्यं मोक्षमूलं गुरोर्कृपा। ओम नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय। I just share my video. I'm delighted to be invited for this, the first satsang of 2021. And I was just looking around at the people who were sharing their videos. It looks like most of you have a lot more, experience than me in Vedanta and spirituality, and listening to a lot of great speakers. So I'm indeed really delighted that I have this opportunity to be able to speak to all of you. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
We can see
need
them.
to make it full screen or not?
This is okay.
This is fine.
Yeah.
Great. So when I got this call from Sajani, I was thinking, what do I talk about? And the first thing that came, obviously, if you look at Ramana Maharshi Center, our vision is Ramana for all. How do we get Ramana for all? So as part of that process, I was just thinking, and a self-enquiry, apart from surrender, are two big pillars of Bhagwan. So I thought, why don't we dwell on one of them? That's the self-enquiry part, which is actually the shortest path to the self. And looking at the way life has been, it's really been a film show. So that's how I coined the heading as the self-enquiry film show. Do you see the slides? Again, I'm sorry to be asking.
Yes, we can see them.
Okay, brilliant. Okay. Welcome again. So now if you look at the which is there, you will see people who are sitting in the theater. And all obviously this picture is after the corona has taken over the world, because.
Sir, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Can you please make it full screen?
Yeah. Okay. Is it okay now? Is this okay?
Yes, I think it's okay.
Okay, great. So as you see this picture, it shows so many people who are watching a film, and one film is playing actually on the screen. But if you see, there are so many films actually being played out in each of these individual people. Like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says, how many people are there, that many paths to the same destination. So similarly here, I picked this first slide to really show this, that this is a journey by you, in you, for you, to you. So it's all about you. And this presentation is not about anybody else. As I always tell myself and remind myself that whenever I'm taking a presentation, actually the presentation is for me. It's not for anybody else. It's just that I'm talking aloud and others are listening. But actually the presentation is for me. So the important thing in this 1 hour that we need to do is really introspect and be truthful to ourselves in this journey of being ourselves. So the question is, do we project? So the question is, do we project the world in consciousness like the projector projects the movie on the screen? Is the question. So we have to this is the hook that we have started on, and this is something that is going to should be on top of our mind when we are going through this presentation. Do we project the world in consciousness? Do we, means like the human beings, all of us who are on this call, project the world in consciousness like the projector projects the movie on the screen? Are they real? So this is really the core of the whole thing, along with self-enquiry. So let's talk about the film show itself. Sajani brought out a nice point before we started. She says, I hope people join in for the call because people may think it's a film show. So, but I'm happy that we have a fair number of participants who joined in. So the important thing about this film show is, let us keep it simple. So this is not going to be high Vedanta, a lot of Shastras, Shrutis and Smritis and all that stuff. It's going to be very, very simple. Give the film show any name that you please. You may call it self-enquiry film show or any other show, because finally it's your show. It's going to be your movie that's going to play out. and the movie is going to play out now for you. It's happening as I'm speaking. My movie is happening as well as all your movies are happening. So I've called it the self-enquiry film show. There is nothing new that you will hear. So this is very important. So if you think you have come to hear something new, there is nothing new that you will be hearing. So don't be disappointed at the end of the 1 hour that you have not heard anything new. But it's an art of questioning. So Bhagwan Ramana, in all his works, one thing is brought out is the method of questioning. We should always question, and that's something that happens with our children. If all of us have had children, children will always question. They will question why this, why not that, who, how, what, when. They all question. So we will go through this. So I had this experience where I took my son for a film show. So because children will ask lots of questions, and there will be a lot of learnings, in life from them. So I took my son for a film show, and he asked me, "What's a film show?" He had never gone for a film, and he was young. So I said, "That's a picture on a screen with sound." So he said, "Oh, that's good. So that means there will be sound. I can see something. Well, where to go? Where to go to see such a thing?" I said, "It's a cinema hall." He said, "Okay." Then children always say, "What will I get out of it?" So I told him, "Don't worry, you will have a lot of fun and you will be happy." So my son agreed. Okay, we will go for a movie, and we booked for the noon show. Suddenly the movie started. And the screen disappeared. So here was my son who was watching the movie, watching the screen, which was totally empty, and suddenly the movie started and the screen disappeared. He looked back, like most of us have done when we look back and try to see where is this light coming from. So he looked back and saw the projector and the light that was coming from it. He was fascinated. He loved it. But he had many questions. That's what we are really going to dwell on today. And those questions are very, very important. And that's why I request all of us to be in the questioning mode. My son asked, "Does the light of the projector project the film?" So the question was, does the light of the projector project the film? The light is necessary, but the lens actually projects. So the light is there, light is necessary, but what projects? The lens projects. So this next question that came in his mind, and if we change the movie, so if we change the film, do we see a different movie? This is another very, very important question as part of spirituality that all of us have to do manana on, because the movies that our films are changing by the moment. We right now are watching a film, and there's a movie going on in our minds. So the movie is based on the film. So if the film is a horror film, then you will see a horror movie. So then, after the movie intermission, he had some popcorn, and we decided the end happened. Then we started walking down to the exit, and then he had a very fundamental question. He said, "Dad, nothing happened to the screen, even though there was fire and water in it." I said, "Wow, I've never thought about that." But he says, "Yes, Dad." And I told him, the film was just passing. It does not stay. It's just a projection on the screen, and this is the core of today's session. It's the film is passing. Everything is just passing. Everything is just momentary, and does not stay. Then he said, "Oh, my last question, or one of those questions, he had some more. Why was she crying? She had a lady who was sitting next to him, and she was crying." So I told him she thought that the film was real. And this is true of all of us. This is true because we believe that the film that's playing out in our lives is real. At the end, she realized that it was just a movie. So when the lights came on and the screen stopped, she realized it was just a movie. It was not real. So I said that was the reason that she was crying. So the other thing that happened was the children are normally a little, their attention level is not for long. So then this fellow went off to sleep for a little while. So what happened was, I asked him, that what happened when you were asleep? Nothing. You were not watching the movie, but you were really happy. That was wow. He said, wow, that was another thing that is going to be another thing that we're going to be discussing in detail is this piece of being happy when you do nothing. And the other point is, when you're sitting in a movie, you do not know how the time flies. The movie goes on and you have lost. He said, how did we kill 2 hours in this movie? I said, actually, you lost the concept of time and space because you did not know you were sitting in a theater. Number one, you did not know what the time was. He says, wow. Then he says, how did that projector man stop the movie? So I told him that he put a cover on the lens, and then what happened? The picture stopped going out. This is another concept that we really need to do manana on. This is another concept that we need to think about, and we shall do that in the subsequent slides. So the projections on the screen, one minute, I'm not able to, hold on a second. Let's get this, my thing away. The projections on the screen are not real. So the answer that they are passing, we give them reality. This is a very important thing. This show, I showed you the first slide, the show is for us, means the reality is for us and no for nobody else. So they are our film shows, and that's what's very, very important. So let us look at our daily experience. I was just thinking, what do we talk about in Bhagwan's life? So we have 3 states that we go through every day, 365 days in a year. We have a dream state. Many of us have dreams. So we have a situation where you have a robber in your dreams. So who is that robber in your dreams? It's a question that comes to our mind. It was in your dream body. So you were on the bed, flat on the bed, but you were in this dream body moving around. Okay? And the dream was a projection of your mind, of your ego. The robber was actually you. So if you had a great supper that night, or if you saw this robber, or there was a thunder and lightning, everything was actually your projection only. It was nothing else but you. But when you woke up, you said that was not true. The robber does not exist. Why do you say that? Because we believe it's a dream. But so what we are doing is we are projecting in the dream. So we are acting like projectors, like the cinema theater that we were in, where we are projecting. Here also we are projecting in the dream. So I am in the dream state. So I am is the consciousness, which was another underlying principle that we are going to be talking about. You were there in the dream state. So then we talk about the deep sleep state. No body thought, no thought of the world, no ego. Projector lens cover had been put, because of which there was no projection. Because there was no projection, there was no ego, there was no world. The light was at its source. And you recognize this state only when you wake up, you say, oh, I had a lovely dream, deep sleep. Okay, so this is a very important aspect. So the projector light is there, but the lens is closed. And your I am is also there in the deep sleep. next, which is about 16 hours, typically 16 hours in a day, we have the waking state. And this is absolutely the one which really creates most of our worries and problems. The state when you wake up from dream or deep sleep. So when you wake up from a dream, you think, oh, it was just a dream. When you wake up from deep sleep, you said, oh, I had a nice deep sleep. Now I'm woken up. Now, when you wake up, what happens? If you really watch yourself early in the morning, when you wake up, you will first feel a sense of blankness. You'll feel a sense of nothingness. That's the time, that's a fraction of a second. You need to watch that. And then what happens is, then this ego comes up that says, I, Venkatesh, has woken up, okay? And then what happens to me? When I wake up, then this body, mind, ego, all these things wake up. And then what happens? Then I project all the world of names and forms. But waking is actually long and a dream is actually short. Other than that, there is no difference. Both of them are actually passing. In both waking and dream, there is then basically there are names and forms that are occurring. So I am is also there in the waking state. So you are there, you're conscious about your waking state, you're conscious about your dream state, and you're conscious about your deep sleep state. Somebody sent me this nice slide here 2 days back, so I thought I'll put this on. Do you know why your dog is happier than you? So if you look at these two minds, one mind is full of mobiles and cars and holidays and all that things, and the dog is just looking at the picture in front. He sees the 4 trees and the sunshine, and he's happy. Now this is what the whole thing is all about. Is don't mind this, but the thing really is that we have to be aware of this. Our mind is full of things. So what's the nature of the mind? If you really want to understand the mind, okay, you have to understand what's the nature of the mind. So the mind is actually a projection of the self. It is nothing but the self, a projection of the self. It causes all thoughts to arise. Apart from thoughts, there's no such thing as mind. So we think, oh, in biology, we never learned of an organ called the mind. So the mind is actually only thoughts. So what's the nature of the mind? It's only thoughts. And then what's happening is these thoughts take us, it's like a tune. It's like a chaprasi. You know, the mind is like a chaprasi between the word body and the senses as well as the intellect. It's sitting between. And it's got an in tray one side, it's got an out tray one side. It just, what it does is, it takes from the in tray of the intellect, passes it to the body and senses, and similarly the other way. It just does that. And we think that this mind is a brilliant piece of equipment within us, but actually there is a no mind situation. So, coming back to my son's questions, I thought about this and said, do we actually project ourselves? If you look at the body, what happens in the morning? When you wake up in the morning, you see yourself, okay? Before you see yourself in the mirror, you see this body, and then you see your house, your bed, and everything, and then you see your family, and then you go and see other things which are hidden somewhere, maybe your bank balances, your stocks and market shares, whatever is there is something that's hidden all over. You'll go on going on looking at it. So what happens when you are looking outside? You are actually bahirmukha. You are actually going outwards. When you're going outwards, what happens? It is always from one that they become many. So what happens is one thought comes that it's I, and then I. So for example, I want to have a samosa. So I think, oh, I want to have a samosa. So first of all, I is there. Then there's a ichha that I need to have a samosa. And then what happens? I think, okay, now where will I get the best samosa? And somebody will say, go to KC Das. Somebody will say, go here, go there, go everywhere. And then what happens? My mind keeps going here and there, and then one question after another question after another question, and the mind is bombarded, continuously bombarded. But the beauty of the mind is one thing that we don't understand. At every point of time, you can have only one thought. There cannot be more than one thought at any point of time. This is the beauty of the mind, but we think it happens so fast. The thoughts happen so fast that we are really unable to think that actually they're coming one after the other. They're coming so fast. So the world is a projection. Why is the world a projection? Because we are seeing whatever we are saying. For example, if right now all of you are seeing me, probably you're seeing me. Now what's happening? There are thoughts coming into your mind. But suddenly, if your daughter has to come in from a music class and she rings the bell, then what happens to your thought about seeing me? It goes away, and then what happens? Somebody opening the door is the next thought that comes in. So whatever you give energy, whatever, this is a very important aspect in our sadhana, whatever you give energy to grows. So if you give energy to, so for example, there are people, there's the Trump, what's happening in the US, or there is UK, there's something that's happening, something happening in India. Now, there, if you give energy to that thought will grow. Once that thought grows, can be only one thought at a point of time. For example, if you have a headache and you have a knee pain, you can think of only one thought, pain at a time. You can't think of both of them. Whichever is pains harder, you will think about that. It's like a mother who's got two children. One is crying and one is happy. The mother will not think about the happy child. Think about only the child who's crying. So this is important. I brought these two slides back to talk about this situation that we are in. Now, if some little child dies in Iraq, does it bother us? We'll say, oh, it's really sad, and we'll pray for that child. Nothing beyond that. But if your own child has fallen and broken his hand or leg, we will put a lot of energy into it. Why? Because we think that it is important for us. So this is an important thing that we need to do in our sadhana also. So to understand that this is whatever film we want to see, that's the first theater thing. Whatever we want to see with our eyes and mind and intellect is what we will get to see. If we want to see the horror movie, we will see the horror movie. If you go to the TV nowadays, it's just a horror movie. It's nothing better than a horror movie. Okay, but important thing is, as part of sadhakas, we have to understand that this is a movie that is going on. And if we keep on watching this movie that's going on, what's going to happen? A point is going to come, then we will be totally distracted from the real purpose of our lives. So answer is, we do project the world in consciousness like the projector projects the movie on the screen. So we are also like projectors, continuously projecting. Projecting what? Our own films. We've got our own samskaras, we've got our own prarabdhas, we've got our own baggage that we are carrying. And the light from within, we are projecting the world through the film that we have. So if this film, if there's no film, what happens in the interval of the movie? When there's no film, there's only light, or there's nothing happening on the screen. So this is a core important part of our self-enquiry session that we are going to be talking about. So now this is why self-enquiry? Why am I to know myself? I know the world. I know, I've done my engineering, I've done my management. I know it all. I worked in large companies. Why should I know myself? So this is An important question that all of us need to contemplate on is that every human being, every being wants to be happy. And when do they want to be happy? They want to be happy all the time. It's not that they want to be happy now and not. Like somebody told me a nice little. Somebody said life is dukhi, 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 sukhi, dukhi, 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 dukhi. And I said, no, we should make it sukhi, 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 sukhi. So important thing really is how do you see yourself? So the world is actually in your mind. If you see the world as perfect, that means you are perfect within. If you see trouble outside, believe me, the trouble is not outside, the trouble is within you. This is a very, very important aspect in our journey to the self. And everybody says, oh, it's because you made me angry that I'm feeling angry. It's no, I'm sorry. The anger is actually within you and you're just projecting that outwardly. That's very important to understand. So how do we gain this happiness which we experience in deep sleep? See, every day we want to go back to deep sleep. Why do you want to go back to deep sleep? Because there was no world, there was no Venkatesh, there was perfect. When I woke up, I said, wow, it was really nice. I had a great night's sleep. Every day you want to go back to that feeling. Why do you want to go to that state? Because you are with yourself. With yourself. So when we say I am, that's what we had in those three states, I am. If you stop at I am, it's fine. But as I add I am Venkatesh Deshpande, I live so and so, blah, 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 what happens is you're attaching the world to I am. Now, what is the true reality in this body if you really see? This is something I learned when I was at Rishikesh at the Yoga Vedanta Forest Academy. The sadhus used to say there are two realities in this body. The first reality is there's this bag of and inside that there are bones and there's flesh, and maybe the other things are there in it too. Along with that, there is the self. Bhagavan says, Hridaya Kuhara Madhye Kevalam Brahma Matram. So Bhagavan says, in the cave of your heart, Bhagavan, the Brahman shines. Hridaya Kuhara Madhye Kevalam Brahma Matram. So all the great ones say that God is actually within you. That means what? This body is actually the temple of the living God. But where are we looking for God? We want to go to Tirth Yatras, we want to go to temples, we want to go here, we want to go there. Because why? Because we are looking for God. But where is God? God is that consciousness within you. That when you have no thoughts, God is actually within you. So that's what Bhagavan is also trying to say. That inquire, who am I? That's why one of my earlier slides said this is going to be a questioning session. It's going to be hard hitting for many of us because we have never questioned. See, there's nothing to hold inside. See, one thing in the sadhana we realize there's nothing to hold inside. When there is outside, you can hold a chair, I can hold something, but inside there's nothing to hold. But there's nothing to hold. Then there's nothing. God, where is God inside me? God can't be inside me. I am the doer. So the ego is actually the problem of all for most of humanity. Ego is what? He says, go outside. Ego is basically the mind, body, and all intellect and all things. Mind is basically the self, which is caught up in doing different roles. It can take the role of the intellect, it can take the role of whatever is the senses, whatever it is, the mind is basically that, nothing more than that. So when the important thing in this life is and all the great, many of you have read the great ones, they say that what's the purpose of this human life? The purpose of this human life is to understand who we are. If that is the purpose of the human life, then why are we not going inwards? Why are we all the time bahirmukha? Why have we not become antarmukha? So what all the great ones do, like Ramana Maharshi, Shivananda, all the great, I heard some lovely prayers before I started. All those great ones, what are they saying? They're saying that God is within you. He's there inside. But what happens? We don't believe that, and we look for him outside. Actually, all these gurus are pushing us from outside and pulling us from inside. So come in, come in, come in. I'm sitting inside, but we don't listen to him at all and listen to them at all. But we believe that something outside is actually going to give us happiness. So when one persistently inquires into the nature of the mind will end, leaving the self as I am. So in between this this bag of flesh and bones and the self is one imaginary ego that comes up and says, oh, I'm here, I'm important. And that's ego. It's come through so many lives. You've gone through 84 lakh lives to get a human birth. So it has gone through, we've picked up so much of baggage that this ego has got lots of vasanas, vrittis, and it's like a monster, and it's very, very difficult to deal with that. But it stands in between the body as well as the self. So what happens is it makes the body look outwards, continuously look outward and see what is happening in others' lives than wondering what's happening in your own life. But if you look at the body itself, this is one thing that fascinated me. If you look at the body itself, you will see that your heart is beating, continuously the heart is beating. Your lungs are breathing all the time. Your potassium levels, your calcium levels, everything is being maintained well in your body. There's some force that is actually making this happen. We have to wake up to that force and really recognize that force which is within. And that's what Bhagwan keeps saying. You have to really go into the path of inquiry. Inquiry is what? Inquiry is going within and understanding who you really are. When we understand who we really are, then we realize that this world of names and forms is just like a projection. It's just like a passing show. And that's whatever is happening is happening. So, like for example, in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, what happened to Arjuna? He saw all his relatives and standing on the other side, and he said, I'm not going to fight this battle because I'm going to kill them. What did Shri Krishna tell him? Listen, apart from the thing about he being a Kshatriya, his duty and this and that, he told that, listen, I am the director of this movie, and I know that in the next scene of the movie, they are gone. Kauravas are not there. You can't see that scene at all, but they are gone. So you pick up the bow and arrow, and what is the reality of all the Kauravas? The reality of all the Kauravas was that I-ness. For example, I'm wearing this kurta right now. How many of us believe that this kurta is actually made of cotton? We'll see the yellowness, we will see what's the brand, what's the logo, how much did it cost, which shop you bought it from. We will not see it's made up of cotton. But that is the important thing in our lives that we need to get to, is work from jnana, work from, see things from the right perspective. When we start seeing things from the right perspective, then we will see the unity in everything. We will not see the difference. Today, all of us are seeing, each one of us see the other and say, oh, that person is different, she is different, I am different, other person is different. But each of us is that Satchidananda Atman. Each of us is that Brahman. But who sees that Brahman? Nobody sees that Brahman. So all the great ones come and say, hey, wake up, devotees. You need to go inside and do self-enquiry. And self-enquiry is what happens when you do self-enquiry. It's like the mind. How is the mind? Let me tell you. It's like if there's a wedding. Now, if there's a wedding, what happens is there's an odd man who's come to the wedding. He's very nicely dressed and he's moving around in the wedding, and he's enjoying, he's dancing, he's eating good food, but he's also creating some trouble here and there. So the boys people think that he's from the girls' side, the girls people think he's from the boys' side, and both of them sort of let that person be. But suddenly what happens, he's actually making too much of noise, so the boys and the girls people come together and ask, who's that fellow? Now, when that person realizes he's being questioned, he runs away from the wedding. Similarly is the mind. The mind, if you inquire to the nature of the mind becomes quiet. The mind, what it likes to catch on to things. What's the nature of the mind? It goes outward, and number two, it jumps. It jumps from one to another. So Bhagavan says, it does not matter how many thoughts arise. Now, this is the self-enquiry 3-step process, which is absolutely a Brahmastra. Brahmastra means truly a Brahmastra. Okay, because in my journey, in my spiritual journey, you can get lost in all the books, in all the shastras, in all the different aspects. It's called spiritual tourism. Nowadays, people are calling spiritual tourism. You can get lost in the maze. But important thing is Bhagavan is saying that you have to inquire who you really are. So Bhagavan has a 3-step process to do this. Bhagavan says that when you sit quietly in the morning after your coffee and sitting in a quiet place, then a thought will come. And we will practice this for 10 minutes later. A thought will come. So you will ask, for whom is this thought? When you ask for whom is this thought, you're questioning that mind. The mind which wants to make you bahirmukha and take you into the world of names and forms, you're questioning it before it hits outside. You're questioning it. For whom is this thought? Obviously, the answer is for me. So that you're sending the thought back into the source. For me, then ask, who am I? So when you ask, who am I, what happens? Sorry, the lights are gone here, but you can hear me. So when you ask, who am I, what happens? The thought which was supposed to go out and create many more thoughts, what happens? It becomes quiet. When the mind becomes quiet, then again the mind gets perturbed and says, I want to cling on to something else. Another thought will come. So Bhagavan says, how many ever thoughts come, it does not matter. Millions of thoughts come. You just inquire, for whom is this thought? Answers, for me. We ask, who am I? When you do this who am I self-enquiry, the mind will stop going out. It's like a cow. If you have a cow at home and you don't feed it, what will happen? It will go and graze in the neighbor's garden. It will go and keep grazing. But if you start giving it good grains or grass at home, what it will do? It will stop going to your neighbor's house and it will start eating the grass here. It may eat for one day, it may still go out for 3 days, but after a point of time, this cow of yours will stop eating outside and will eat at home if you give it nice grass to eat. So similarly, the mind is like that. It loves to look for outside things, and because why? It gets pleasure. And the mind there's no mind. We just realize there's nothing called the mind. This mind is made up of thoughts. So Bhagavan says that you keep on doing this. Keep on doing this work, the self-enquiry. For whom is this thought? For me, who am I? ये सोच किसके लिए है? मेरे लिए है. मैं कौन हूँ? ये ओचने यार गे ननगे nan yaro. So these are the 3 steps. Only these 3 steps. Bhagavan says this is the shortest path. Though it is part of Jnana Yoga, this is shortest path to get to the self. Because what happens is you are quietening the mind every day. Bhagavan says, if you quieten one thought a day, it will go a long way. It will go a long way in quietening the mind. Then what happens to this baggage? See, we always think, oh, we've got this baggage of huge, from 84 lakhs, we got so many vrittis, we have got so much of baggage that we are carrying. What's going to happen? It's like a lens. If you put the lens against the sunlight, what happens to the cotton? It all gets burnt out. So similarly, if you do self-enquiry, it's a focused attention on the self. What happens? This mind which has been jumping around saying, I am important, suddenly becomes quiet. When it becomes quiet, this tune stops moving stuff inbox and outbox between the intellect as well as the body and senses. And what happens? Then this mind becomes quiet, and then this mind you start inquiring, who am I? Then you are with the self, the thought-free self. So consciousness devoid of thoughts is actually the self, is God. So this is very, very important thing that we need to understand. It is all about giving up of all that you have and giving up the doer also. The doership has to go. The doership has to go as well as the doer has to go. And how does the doer go? If you really inquire who you really are, this body, mind, ego complex will vanish. When it vanishes, what happens? The same deep sleep experience you'll have in the daytime, which is like, it's called Jagrat Shushupti. That means in waking, you'll be asleep. Asleep means what? You will be perfectly awake, but your inside there will be perfect silence. Because what happens? You know that the world is just a projection. World is not true. It may be there, but it's not true. It is passing. Today something is there, tomorrow it won't be there. It's all passing. So you're just like a witness. You like that. If there's a fly sitting in your room, sitting on the wall, it just witnesses whatever is happening inside the room. It does not matter what goes on, whether there's merrymaking happening or somebody dying. It's just a witness. So we have to develop this witnessing aspect about when we keep on doing self-enquiries, going inwards, the mind will become quiet. And then these Bahirmukha, the sense of Bahirmukha will die down and you will be Antarmukha. You will only be within, and then you will be with that I am. You will have the experience of the I am. So Bhagavan says, Hridaya Kohara Madhye Kevalam Brahmamatam Aham iti Sakshat Atma Rupena Bhati Hridevishya Manasaswam Chinvata Majjatava Pavana Chalana Rodat Atma Nishto Bhavatvam. So Bhagavan says, we keep on doing self-inquiry. That I, which is the ego, will vanish. Another I, which is the Satchidananda Atman, which is that existent consciousness, will rise, and then you will be in constant bliss. When in constant bliss, you become fearless and free, because you realize everything is only the consciousness. There's nothing else but consciousness. And the projections that we have been seeing, this world of names and forms, is untrue. So that is very, very important as part of our sadhana. So I have 2 more slides and then we'll wrap up. I have a couple of more minutes. So what is the difference? So there's a very fundamental, in all our journeys, there's a very fundamental to that question that comes up, is what's the difference between inquiry and meditation? So inquiry consists in retaining the mind in the self. So when you retain the mind, when you ask, who am I? There's another way to do it also, is whence am I? Is where does the I? But today we are only dwelling on the who am I part. So retaining the mind in the self is one. Then the second one is meditation. What is meditation? Meditation is thinking that oneself is Brahman, existence, consciousness, and bliss. So this is the subtle difference between these two. So Bhagavan says, I put a slide together here which talks about keep your mind still. Now this is Bhagavan says Ati Sulabham. It is very, very simple to keep your mind still. But let me tell you, we have all lived our lives. The simplest things are the most difficult. So keep your mind still is very difficult. That's enough. The aim of all practices is to give up all practices. So I met a couple of sadhus in Rishikesh, and they said one was a double PhD, and he said, I have to unlearn whatever I have learned. See, whenever we go through life, we say, you have to learn more, you have to get somewhere, you have to do something, you're not in the right place, you're not whole and perfect, you have to get somewhere. But all the great ones are saying, you are whole and complete. Purnamada, Purnamidam. That means you're whole and complete. And what are you trying to joke around to say that you're not whole and complete? So he says, when the mind becomes still, the power of the self will be experienced. And the self is all pervading. If the mind is in peace, then one begins to experience it. So that's what, when you experience the silence, the great ones have got a smile on their face. You see all the great ones, they've got a smile on the face, but they are totally still within. Because what happens? They know that this is a projection. So this is a beautiful thing. We chanted so many religions prayers. So Bhagavan also says the same thing, that silence is the ocean in which all the rivers of all the religions discharge themselves. So, or like the river which tirelessly moves towards the ocean. It does not matter how many rocks come, whatever comes, it finds its way to the ocean. And then with the sun again, it becomes clouds, goes and comes back to the ocean. So silence, if you are in silence, all the religions discharge themselves into the ocean as this. And so important thing for all as part of this session today is we need to understand that the world is just a projection of our mind. Mind does not really exist. There's nothing called the mind. It's important that we understand that. So if you do self-enquiry, we no more bahirmukha, we are antarmukha. If you are antarmukha, the world is perfect. The world is run by God. He knows what to do when, and we are one little small, speck of dust in His scheme of things. So we should not worry. It's like Bhagavan says that if you get onto a train, if you've got luggage, what are you going to do with the luggage? You're not going to put it on your lap and sit down. He says, keep it on top. And just like a first-class passenger, sit in the train and enjoy the ride. So that's what Bhagavan is trying to tell us today, that be like a first-class passenger, do self-enquiry, abide in that silence within. That is the truth of all the gods, all the goddesses, all the gurus. The truth of all of them is that Satchidananda Atman, which is the silence within each one of us. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Thank you for this opportunity. Namo Ramana.
Thank you so much, Mr. Venkatesh, for this very enlightening talk. Would you like to take questions now or later?
Let me just stop this video. Hold on, please.
I have a question.
Yeah, 1 minute, please. Sorry, 1 second.
Will you put it on the chat box, Mr. Janakiram?
Okay.
You can ask also later, but in the meanwhile, you can put it.
Yeah, I've got, yes. I'm ready to take questions now.
Okay, so you can ask the question, Mr. Janakiram.
No, the presentation was very lucid about, who are my process. My question is, in the time of pandemic, on the controversy on these vaccines, how to keep the mind silent? It's a huge challenge.
Yeah, what is important we need to understand. Sorry, I didn't get your name, sir.
Mr. Janakiram.
Okay, Mr. Janakiram. So the important thing really is, what are we seeing? I started this whole presentation by saying that our projectors are on, right? Now, our projectors are on, that means what? We are seeing whatever is happening in the world. Now, when we are trying to go to the truth, when we are trying to go to the self, then all the great ones say, like for example, we are talking about pandemic. Let's look at Bhagwan's life. Bhagwan lived when two world wars happened. Two world wars happened. Bhagwan lived. Did he do anything about it? He just did not do, because he said, I am going to do self-enquiry. I am going to be with that self, which is the undercurrent of everything. So if I am in peace by myself, if I am in silence, everything is perfectly okay. So that is the important lesson that we need to learn from Bhagwan.
Thank you, sir.
Any more questions? Would anyone like to ask any questions? So, Mr. Venkatesh, you said you would be doing a short meditation.
Yes, I would like to do a short meditation.
That would be nice then.
Yeah. So what I request all of you to do is just relax, put your feet on the ground, just, or if you're sitting on the ground, just relax. Close your eyes, keep your arms, hands on your thighs, so just keep it relaxed, or keep it facing upwards, whatever you are used to doing. Okay. The important thing is here we're going to do is we are going to watch the mind. So this whole play is of the mind. So we are going to see how we are going to watch the mind. So one thing my dentist also told me is whenever my procedure is going on, watch your breath. So if you watch your breath, then you don't feel the pain. So what I request all of you to do is watch your nostrils, your two nostrils. Just watch the prana going in and out. Don't worry about what else is happening. So we're going to close our eyes. So do we want, Sajani, do you want a 10-minute session?
I think that should be okay. 10 minutes would be fine. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I just put the alarm so that, I don't go shoot because. So what I request all of you to do is sit in a comfortable place where you don't fall off the chair or whatever it is, and just close your eyes. Forget about the world. Just forget about the world. There is somebody who runs the world, who knows it all. Just close your eyes. Watch your prana. Just watch your prana going in and out. So a thought will come. Ask, for whom is this thought? For me? Who am I? Another thought comes. For whom is this thought? For me? Who am I? Another thought comes. For whom is this thought? For me? Who am I? The spiritual heart is to the right of your chest. Focus on the spiritual heart. Another thought comes. For whom is this thought? For me? Oh my. Another thought comes. Awareness is thought. Oh another thought comes. Awareness is thought. Oh my. Watch the problem going in. Another thought will come. Awareness is thought. Oh my. Another thought will come. Awareness is thought. Oh my. Another thought. This is thought. Oh my. Another thought will come. Amen. Bhagavan says to the right of your chest is the spiritual heart. So some people focus on different areas, but Bhagavan says the spiritual heart where you need to focus on. And because the source of the mind and the source of the breath is the same, so if you just focus on your breath, your mind will automatically quieten, and that will take you within and make you antarmukha. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramaya.
Thank you so much, Venkatesh. That was so beautiful. It took me to a very tranquil and deep state. And I think after such a beautiful meditation, I don't think we should go back into the question mode. So let us all stay with that tranquility and calmness. And I will now ask Mr. Ramesh to propose a vote of thanks. Ramesh?
Thank you, Sajani.
And follow it up with the Loka Samasta.
Yes. Right. So, well, Sri Venkatesh, that was really very nice. It was really nice to experience the vibrations, more than anything else. I realized when you spoke that we all keep coming back to these satsangs because of the vibration and the association of our satsang family members, and in fact with our own higher selves. So while each satsang might be a little different, and as you said, there's nothing really new, but it was delightfully creative. Your film analogy was very nice, and I know that through many programs that I've attended, people really find their own lives the most interesting film of them all. So using I don't know whether you really have a very young child. I do, so I could really connect with those questions, those non-stop questions. And but a child can really, those questions can throw a fresh, innocent perspective to scenarios. And really we are projecting the world that we see and experience. And if we change this projection as per our choice, then our life occurs accordingly. And that is really one big takeaway that I got. And the ego must go to know who I really am as a soul, the self-enquiry process. And I think I will, the other big takeaway for me is that I'm going to start asking, to whom does the thought arise? To me, and who am I? That is really a very powerful practice, and really practice makes you perfect. So I think that really is a takeaway for me that I'm going to strive to hold on to. It'll lead to that inquietude, the silence being the catalyst, as you put it, to take you back to the source, the antarmukha state, the satchitananda consciousness that will prevail. So I really like what you said about the difference between inquiry and meditation. Where inquiry retains the mind and your identity, but meditation lets go of all that. And then the world is perfect, and it's run by God, and that is the truth, and that is peace. That will really be Satchitananda. Om Tat Sat. So thank you so much for that. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And so on that wonderful note, let's connect with each other. All come from the same source. Let's sit straight for this Loka Samasta, this very first Loka Samasta for the very first Satsang at the School of Ancient Wisdom family. With your back, neck and head aligned. Take a deep breath. Observe your breath. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Brahmarpanamastu.
There is a question in the chat box.
Much, Ramesh, and that was nice. There are a few questions in the chat box, is it? However, I would suggest that all of us stay in this beautiful
Adam, you're
silence.
muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, Sajani.
Okay, I would suggest that we stay in this beautiful silence and inquire
Okay,
into who I
the
am.
question is, dear Sarji, Namaskar, my humble question, Vedanta requires one should be an adhikari first, without which no process can take you to enlightenment. Who am I? Self-enquiry can help quieten the mind, but ajnana in the mind can only be removed by jnana alone. Mere meditation again does give any jnana. Kindly share your experience, Sarji.
Let me read the question again, sorry. So now, for example, this is a very, very important question because everybody gets this question in their lives, and there some people are put on one side of the. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes,
We
yes.
can hear you, Venkatesh.
Yeah. So some people are put on one side of the mic, and somebody else on the other side of the mic. So who does it? Who is telling me to speak today and for you to listen? The same force that is making you listen is the same force that is actually talking at this point in time. Okay? So it's important that great ones, if you actually do manana on what the great ones like Ramana and others have done, it is not an, you don't have to be an adhikari. What was the question? One should be an adhikari first, without which no process can take to enlightenment. See, the enlightenment, there is no place you have to go. That's the beauty of enlightenment. See, we are always thinking that something is going to happen outside, but being enlightened is being with the light. Being the self is knowing the self, is being the self. That's very important that we don't understand. Now, if you are, Bhagwan is telling you that do self-enquiry, that's all energy that can you believe of the whole cosmos is behind that self-enquiry when you do self-enquiry. So it is for us as devotees, what I personally believe is, because when I came to Bhagwan, I was a Bhakti Marga person. I didn't believe in self-enquiry at all, right? And I started doing self-enquiry, and because it was more on the jnana side. But I'm telling you, believe me, you keep doing self-enquiry and watch your thoughts going down and down and down and down. So what will happen? See, the one question that comes up: how do I know I am proceeding in the right direction at all? What's going to happen? Your bahirmukha, the intensity with which you're going outside will reduce slowly and slowly and slowly. Secondly, the number of times you will go outside will also reduce. The frequency of going outside will reduce slowly, slowly, and slowly. Thirdly, which is the most important thing, is what's going to happen is your recovery from bahirmukha to antarmukha. What will happen is, as you keep doing self-enquiry, your mind just does not go out. And you realize that. So my personal view is like they say, the whole process of, when you start sadhana, you have to get mantra from a guru who is realized. But we are talking of a Bhagwan who's a Ati Ashrami. He's God. He's not, like I'll tell you about Swami Shivananda. Swami Shivananda, somebody told him they were starting a Vishwanath Mandir. Actually, it happened on 31st of December, many years, 73 years back. He said that it's not a good time to start the temple. Somebody told Swami Shivananda. Swami Shivananda said, for 3 weeks we will do Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Akhanda for three weeks. And you won't believe, just by Shivananda and Gurudev saying that, for 73 years it's been continuously going on. The same Akhanda bhajan is going on. So once you have a stature, and Bhagavan is Avatara. He's not, if you read, he was seen as Subramanyam, he was seen as Dakshinamurti, the great ones. So when a person like him says, do this, we must just follow it. It's like, I give a beautiful example. There's one dog who sees the robber. You see, you have a lot to learn from animals. One dog who sees the robber and he starts barking. What do the other dogs do? Have they seen the robber? They have not seen the robber, but they start barking. Automatically they start barking because they believe that the first dog was actually seen the robber. There must be something that has to be done. That's why they also start barking. So my belief is that if we have total faith in our gurus and we follow what they say, Bhagavan says that if you do self-enquiry, even in the whole process of spirituality, they say Arunachala Smarana, just to Smarana of Arunachala, you will get Mukti. Mukti is what? Is you will be thought-free, you will be away from this world of body, mind and names and forms. So that's my personal belief.
I think there is one more question where someone has asked for a daily mantra to be conscious. A daily mantra to be conscious of our activities.
So Bhagavan says, whenever you're not doing anything, you can be doing self-enquiry. When you're not, if you're washing utensils, you can do self-enquiry. If you're bathing, you can do self-enquiry. You can do self-enquiry. What really we need to see is that the mind does not go outside. So if there's a thought you are able to capture, so you can do it every moment. Whenever you forget, whenever you remember, start doing self-enquiry. Nirantara, you have to keep on doing self-enquiry and keep on doing self-enquiry, and it's like a stone. I keep on beating that stone, beating the stone will crack. So similarly, keep on doing self-enquiry. What happens? Initially, you will say, for whom is this thought? For me, who am I? But after some time, you will only start saying, who am I? And then that who am I also, it's like that pyre, that stick which is used in the funeral pyre, that also will get burned. Similarly, this self-enquiry also will stop, and you will be in that Satchidananda, you will be in that witnessing mode, you will be in that silence within. And that's what Bhagavan wants all of us to do. So my humble suggestion here is keep on, whenever you remember self-enquiry, do self-enquiry.
There's someone else who wants to know if we can reach out and contact you.
Yes. So my number is there, 98451 62645. It's on the chat box. So you can give me a call and and we can talk to each other. Not an issue at all.
Right. Thank you. Anyone else with any questions? Okay, I don't think so. A lot of our programs are being projected. We have the Bhagavad Gita tomorrow, and we have Atma Bodha on Sunday. On Saturday, we have a new program starting. There are 4 sessions on meditation by Dr. Indra Bhangar. The first session is on Saturday the 9th. And the next program that we have is by someone called Dr. Pashupati Stephen Landu. He's a doctor. He's from the US, and he's talking about the chakras as junction boxes. I don't know if you remember, but last time he did sing the Jewish song on the 31st. So we hope that you will join all our programs. Thank you so much for being with us, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you, and all the best. Thank you once again, Venkatesh, for coming and giving us this wonderful talk. Thank you so much. And the meditation was also beautiful.
Thank you, Arunachal. Thank you for this opportunity, Sajani. I really appreciate it.
Thanks. We look forward to having you at the school when we open up over there.
Yes, Arunachala.
Yes. All right. Okay.